player. So all of yous right now, we're going to be talking about a big Aussie name inside prison, Chris. We're going to be talking about an NRL player that was inside prison. And then we're also going to be talking about Osca Taufahema and Baz Cavanagh, which is the story that everyone has been smashing my friggin' inboxes with, wanting to hear this story. Where are we going to start? I think we're going to start with Jesse. So I don't really know how to pronounce his name properly. Jesse Sprogneros. I think it's like that. Can you hear me when these you know when I'm talking and they're sending through the big gifts? Can you still hear me? Yeah? Dale. All right. All good. Let's go. Jesse, he was just a normal guy when I first met him, same as everyone else, came through juvie. Now, when we're talking about tonight, I just want you guys to remember, I'm going to thank everyone who's sending through gifts and everyone who's tapping it up. I'm going to send through all my love and respects at the end of all the stories, yeah? So please bear with me. And I'm not being disrespectful when I'm not shouting at your name. It's just that these stories need to be told properly to veer off my channel, because I keep saying thank you without telling the whole story straight away, you know. So let's start off with Jesse. Typical criminal like myself, in and out of juvie, in and out of prison, yeah. And then Jesse started obviously getting on heavy drugs and coming up in the prison in the prison stats, you know. And when I say prison stats, like, there's not many Aussie boys that come up at all. And I'm not saying Jesse came up to the level of everyone else, but all I'm saying is he had his little safe haven where he had a bit of pool, and he stayed into that little safe haven until he had to leave that safe haven. So to all the younger generation out there, out of all the stories that I'm going to tell tonight, I think this is one of the most important ones that you need to listen to, because Jesse is just like you guys, you know. He came up and he did his thing, and he always protected himself, and he got along with every person that he crossed paths with, you know. And the thing is, when I finally met him, my brother introduced me to him, said he was a good guy, and said that they were in juvie together or something, yeah. and when I met him, I thought, this guy's a gentleman. There was nothing bad I could say about him at all, except for the fact that he touched a bit of drugs, you know. Other than that, that was just his downfall. So the reason for me explaining Jesse's little journey, obviously from when I was with him, is the fact that he had an opportunity to do his time and go home, yeah? But instead of doing his time and going home, he decided to join a gang. And this gang's name was FLC, Frontline Creams. So you had the rebels, and then you had the FLC boys. So FLC, a lot of them were rebels, and they started like a family gang, yeah? FLC is no more, so to all you youngsters out there, this is what I'm talking about. These guys were as close as any gang could be, and they did everything together, you know. No matter what, they always stuck together. We welcomed the rebel boys into the island yard. Well, it was me, because I had someone close to me who was a rebel back then. So I invited him, and then obviously I invited his friends. Thank you, guys. And then when all the rebels came into our yard, it was a bit ugly because it's an island yard, yeah? And the rebel boys never did anything wrong. It just, the other yards were like, oh, why would you invite bikies in your yard? Like, it looked shit. And it did look crap, but at the end of the day, the rebel boys didn't do anything wrong. They knew it was an island yard. They respected that fact. And we all just did our time peacefully, you know, and until the other incidents that I wrote about on my, what's it called? My Instagram. But with Jesse, when he joined this gang, FLC, it was the worst thing he ever done. He should have just stayed by himself, should have just done his time peacefully, should have just went home. But instead, obviously, like, he went and got himself all tatted up. Mind you, this is jail tattoos, yeah? And it's very dangerous in prison to get tattoos. Like, there's blood to blood, all that shit that comes with it. It's disgusting, yeah? But this is what boys do when they're bored inside prison. When they want to rep their gang, they go and get tattoos. So he's gone and done his tattoos, and then he started like crawling a bit, you know, up the ladder in his yard. So Jesse is Aussie, but he was in the Aussie Asian yard, and the Aussie Asian yard is is the Asian yard, you know, pretty much like the Screws call it Aussie Asian yard, and the Island yard is Aussie Islander yard, you know, but it's an Asian yard. They run it, they own it. And that's where Jesse was, you know. And when he was inside this this yard, this is what I called his safe haven, because no one could touch him. Remember, during the racial wars, they created these yards. The yards used to be open where everyone can just get each other, yeah, attack each other if they wanted. But during the racial wars, they shut it down at Goulburn. It is the only prison in Australia that got shut down like this. They separated the four main nationalities in Australia. The four main nationalities in New South Wales prisons. This has never happened in any other prison in Australia, all right? Four main nationalities, for those of you who don't know, a lot of people are tuning in from around the world, is the Asians, the Islanders, the Kuris, and the Lebanese, or Middle Eastern boys, all right? So these are the four main nationalities, and when they were shut, when the yards were locked off, these nationalities were locked off from attacking each other, and then whoever came that was a different nationality, they could pick which yard they wanted to go to, which yard they wanted to align themselves with, you know. Jesse, I'm talking about Jesse Speaks for that person who just asked, Aussie Jesse. He chose to go to the Aussie Asian yard. There's something, like, back in the days, the Asian yard was ruthless, and they were guys that you didn't F with, yeah? But as soon as all these drug addicts started going into the Asian yard, everyone used to call the Asian yard the main boneyard. So for those of you who don't know, the boneyard is protection, yeah? And the main is where I was. So everyone else is in the main population and then the boneyard. And everyone started calling the Asian yard the main boneyard, because when boys would come who were on drugs and who were on debt to other people, who had certain charges that they knew they were going to get chopped for, they were all going into the Asian yard. And all the heavy hitter Asians had already gone home, or they have got extradited to other states to do time. So now the Asians that were there, like, yeah, there was one or two heavy hitters, but pretty much the rest of them were just newcomers to prison, you know, the ones that were coming in for big amounts of drugs, but they're not jail-wise and they're not street-wise. So for those of you who don't understand, there's a lot of guys inside prison who comes in for big stuff. You can't call these guys heavy hitters, because heavy hitters is considered gangsters who make moves. That's what heavy hitters are, all right? These guys who come in, for example, there was a guy that came in for 3 acres of oppe, yeah? Like, he was growing it on 3 acres. That's obviously big, you know what I mean? But you wouldn't call him a heavy hitter, because he was just a typical young Aussie who was out in the bush, grew 3 acres for himself to sell. He ended up getting caught and went to jail for about 18 months. So that's the difference between a heavy hitter and someone who just comes in for large amounts of stuff, but he's not gang related and he hasn't got a name, you know? There's a lot of those inside prison. They're the ones who usually like try to do their time like with their hat on, cover their faces, that of shit. But with Jesse, he could have done this, because remember, he's Aussie, so he's got no dramas with anyone, and he got along with everyone. But what happened was, when Jesse got into the into the Aussie Asian yard, and then he got asked from the FLC boys to join, he joined, yeah? And Miss Pa, appreciate you. When he joined, he started throwing his weight around. Now, Asians were getting chopped in the Asian yard. This has never happened before. You know what I mean? So it was a big thing when this first happened. I remember I was shocked. I was like, bro, why isn't the Asians making a move? But at the end of the day, some of the Asians got along with Jesse. So it kind of looked like a thing where it was set up by Asians, you know. So they had Jesse as like one of their frontline soldiers to go run amok. And then they wouldn't get in trouble because remember, they're trying to get their C-class, so they're trying to go home. So who would they send in to do the dirty work? Jesse and his mates. And Jesse had a lot of Aussie boys that ran amok with him in the Asian yard. Now I'm going to give you one of his mates was like a little short fella named Zane. He was a good kid, and Zane was he was a bit cuckoo, like for a small Aussie guy. He actually went on with it, you know. At Park Lee, there was how am I going to put it, like a pedo, like in Park Lee, yeah? Long story short, everyone was just letting this dog like walk around and do his time peacefully, and everyone was talking about it. And then everyone was like, oh, you know, I think he's in for this, I think he's in for that. And the screws were laughing because the screws were like, we already freaking told you what he's in for and no one's even done anything, you know? Because remember, I told you, screws also don't like these putrid people that come in for those disgusting charges, yeah? Information to the boys in the main will take care of them. Information had already been given to a lot of boys that were there, and no one would touch this bloke, yeah? And he was just walking there. Long story short, Zane goes in there with his mate, they do what needed to be done, and see this thing here, Zane did this to it, and he ended up like that. So, he's a little guy, but he goes on with it, yeah? And Zane was like, was Jesse's 5'8". So now that Jesse's building his little crew, and remember, the main FLC boys were in the Islander yard. They were the ones calling the shots, yeah? But because Jesse was in that yard and now he started building his Aussie boys, the power started getting to his head, yeah? And now he was making moves and he was standing over people. And this is not the Jesse I met, you know? But hey, each to their own. Everyone's trying to make that paper inside prison, yeah? But then he started going overboard. The power got to his head, you know, and this is reasons why I'm explaining this story to all you younger generation, is because you guys are going through what Jesse was going through back then, you know? He had nothing at the time, then he started building his status, and as soon as he built his status, he started letting the power get to his head, and this is when he's tried to, how do I put it, try to strategically make moves against other nationalities. I wouldn't say other crews, I'll just say other nationalities, all right? There was incidences that happened at Goulburn, like heaps of incidents. But the argument was over drugs, and Jesse and his mates were like having arguments with Oscar and his mates. But Oscar and Jesse got along, but there was also like, you know, when people like smile at you, but at the same time, they're like thinking, yeah, I'm going to get your boy. I'm just smiling right now, but wait till I'm face to face with you. This is the way Oscar and Jesse were, yeah? Like they knew how to play the system and play inmates. Anyway, the point of this is Oscar went to legal visit, and when he walked in, two of Jesse's Aussie boys was in there and they attacked Oscar, yeah? It was so funny, I'm telling you, like, they full tried to jump Oscar, and I wasn't there when this fight happened, yeah? But I was inside, obviously I was in the island yard, but this happened at legal visits. So a screw come running over when I was standing there, and he was like, far out, something just happened. And I said, what happened? He goes, Taufahema, two of the Aussie boys from the Asian yard tried to jump him. And I said, nah, is he all right? And he was like, is he all right? He goes, mate, he goes, we were trying to get the two Aussie guys out because Oscar was bashing both of them. that's what I was saying. Like, these guys, they're in their little safe haven, just like you boys and obviously females. While you're outside here right now, Your little safe haven is the little crew you're rolling with, yeah? Your little safe haven is in your car when you're driving around selling drugs and doing what you need to do for the older boys or doing what you need to do for your crew, yeah? That's your little safe haven. Once you go into prison, you have no more safe haven. Just like those Aussie boys. They left the Asian yard and they went to legal visits. They weren't expecting Oscar to turn up, yeah? So as soon as Oscar turned up, he went to walk in and then boom. Instead of waiting for the screws to walk away and then starting trouble, as soon as Oscar got in there, they tried to jump him. And mate, I wasn't there when it happened, but all I can say is when Oscar came back, he had nothing on his face. And then I'm sweeper, so I go inside I go inside the wing. And when I went inside the wing, these two Aussie boys come walking in. One of them had a cut over here and the other one had a black eye. And I was like, far out. That only happened freaking 45 minutes ago. This guy's already got a black eye. Tanya, I appreciate you. So that's one incident, yeah? And this is Jesse's boys, all right? The next incident was with the Muslim boys. There was issues between the Muslim boys and the FLC boys, and a can was thrown towards the Muslim boys, yeah? Jesse had nothing to do with this, but obviously he was swearing at them and carrying on after this incident. And then Con Giorgio, who's a rebel, but also FLC, he ended up meeting up with Eddie Darwich at the visits for inmates. And after visits, they ended up having a fight. It was just two old school guys going at it, so it was nothing special, yeah. No one won. It was just a little scuffle between old school guys, but it was over this can that was thrown at the Muslim boys. Now Jesse's crew had dramas with the Muslims. This is the thing, like when you want to mess with a nationality, a religion, or a crew inside prison, you better remember they're gonna smile at your face, just like out here now. Like, you're gonna see guys smile at your face, shake your hand, and then behind your back, someone's already getting ready to fucking do what they need to do to you. You know what I mean? This is what's been happening for the last 7 years on the streets, hence all the Erdemaze that's been happening, yeah? Now, with Jesse's crew now having dramas with the Muslim boys, you'd think they'd stop there. So they got dramas with Osca Taufahema and the Tongan boys. Now and obviously the whole Islander yard was going to back Oscar when I was there as well. And then they had the Muslim boys. Now Jesse goes and starts the Welshie brothers. These guys, they're like twins, yeah, full look-alike. Appreciate you guys. And while they were walking past education, what does Jesse and his mates do? They had a cup of hot water, yeah, and they threw it at the Welshie brothers. Mate, this guy, it's like, I don't understand, like, Jesse was like so happy to be in his little safe haven that he thought none of this will ever come back to him, you know what I mean? Appreciate you, Tanya. And his enemies have now elevated to like guys who don't F around, like the Kuri boys, yeah. A one-on-one's a one-on-one, a little scuffle here and there, but you don't ever F with the Kuri boys inside prison because they always have the numbers, you know. And like I always told you guys from get-go, from when I came to prison and from the 90s, the Kuris ran their prisons. Lithgow prison, Bathurst prison was the two main prisons that they ran. No other nationality, them. And if you wanted to go to their prison, you better make sure that you were good with them. You know, there's a guy now, a Kuri guy, his name's Car. I know him from inside prison, and so does my brother, yeah? And I'm going to be honest with you guys. You know, I watched, not his live, but I watched a video that someone had screen recorded of him yesterday, yeah? And these guys were calling him a junkie because he was skinny, and they were calling him a has-been and whatnot. And then I thought to myself, far out, like, this is what was happening to Underworld Bill when I first came out. There was people belittling him because of his little antics, and there was people belittling him because they didn't know about his past, yeah? I brought up the fact that I was there when Underworld Bill went through the shit that he went through. Yes, he got from the Islanders, but the guy is about it because I was there when he went on with it. This is the same as Carr. All right, I'm going to tell you all the same thing. With Carr, he was one of the main Koori boys. As the other older Koori boys started slowing down and they started not thinking about war anymore, but taking care of their people. So Carr was the one who came in and pretty much started taking over leadership with the Koori boys, yeah? And with Carr telling his stories and whatnot, like, all I can say is the guy, when I was inside prison, was about it. Like, he went on with it, and my brothers and I never had any issue with him because we always got along, you know. He was a gentleman to us, and there was never any issues. So when the Welshie brothers got hot watered by what's his name, Jesse's crew, now all the Koori boys have been sent a message from the Welshie brothers to chop FLC boys on site. All right. Now remember, guys, the FLC boys in the Islander yard, they were like gentlemen. They did their time peacefully, you know, and there was never any issues. But the FLC boys in the Asian yard, these guys were all throwing their weight around, and it was ugly because they were the ones, Jesse's side of FLC were the ones that were starting a lot of the trouble. Yeah, they backed up some of the trouble that was from the FLC boys in the Islander yard, but the majority of the dramas came from Jesse's side. And this is what I'm saying to you guys now, you youngsters. The trouble that you're making now is going to come back on everyone that you're close with. Not only your mates, not only your comrades, but also your parents, you know, and family members. For all of you that that understand the situations that's been happening in the last couple of years with the Muslim families that have been going to war. I'm not going to touch on any of that because that's all stories for later on. This one's with Jesse and Jesse only. So now with what happened with the Koori boys, I bumped into Jesse and I said to Jesse, and I said to him, bro, do you realize one day you're going to leave your little safe haven? Bro, I get along with you, but you know, you just effed with Oscar and everyone now from the island yard wants to get you. You just effed with the Muslim yard. You just effed with the Koori boys. And mate, good luck to you when you leave your little safe haven, because he's in the Asian yard throwing his weight around, yeah? But what's called? It wasn't about that. It was about him and his mates are going to leave their safe haven, and any day could be their day, all right? Boom, I get moved. Jesse and his mates are now told they have to leave their safe haven. Because remember, no matter what jail you go to, you're gonna eventually leave, you know what I mean? And when Jesse and his mates got told they had to go, they tried to fight it. Obviously, it wasn't happening. And straight away, I said to myself, bro, this guy is gonna got far out. He gets to Park Lee, he's there. Bro, he wasn't even there long. And then straight away, like, he was trying to make friends now with the Islanders, trying to make friends with the Muslim boys, but it was too late, yeah? Jesse had already slept in that bed, you know, so it is what it is. He made it, he's got to sleep in it. His mates, Zane, went to Long Bay prison. Guess what happened to Zane? The Muslim boys came from out of nowhere. That's it. Zane got taken to Long Bay Hospital, and he didn't even know what he did wrong. He didn't realize all the itchay that he was doing when he was backing up Jesse came back and beat him in the ass. Like I said to you, younger generation, it always comes back to you. And you know, little Zane, he didn't even like have any inkling of this happening to him, because remember, yeah, he was loyal to Jesse, but he didn't do anything wrong, you know. And the Muslim boy saw him, mate, you were his mate, you're gonna get got today, you know. And I remember when he went to Long Bay Hospital, like he sent a message to his mates, like saying that he had a few holes in him. And then the next thing was like ugly. Todd Carney, He wasn't even in the Asian yard. He was over in the Islander yard. Todd Carney went to Lithgow prison, yeah? And remember, the Kuru boys had already sent messages. FLC boys have to get got on site, yeah? Todd Carney goes in there. He thinks he's all good. Number one, he's a gentleman. Number two, he gets along with everyone. Number three, he's never started any trouble with anyone because he was in the Islander yard, you know? He wasn't in the Asian yard. But guess what? He was FLC. And what did I tell all of you youngsters out there? It doesn't matter if you had nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter that you're doing your own thing. If you're with another crew or if you're representing that older guy, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. That's what I'm saying. And that's what happened to Todd Carney. Yeah? He went to Lithgow prison out of nowhere. What happened? He ended up at hospital. And when I saw him a couple of years later, like I walked over and I was like, Todd. And he looked at me like that, and I was like, it's me, Pete, like that. And I swear to you, he was like a vegetable. He like actually spoke like this. That's how he was speaking. Like he had so many holes put in him. Yeah, it's like pretty much they turned the bloke into a vegetable. Like I know that that he was going to the doctors and that they were trying to get him back straight. I don't know. Maybe he's good today, yeah? But when I saw him, that's how he was. Like he couldn't even talk to me. And I was trying to like say hello, yeah? And then I had already known about the story where he got at Lithgow. And when I spoke to a few of the Kuru boys, I was explaining to them Todd had nothing to do with the dramas between Jesse and the Kuru boys. And all the FLC boys in the Islander yard never told Jesse to throw hot water at the Welshie Kuru brothers. And I said, but I understand, like, at the end of the day, that's the name of the gang that you were repping, so you're going to get got. You know, you just call it opposition, I call it enemies. It is what it is with Triggz. That's what happens, you know. It was a sad story because obviously Todd was a good guy. So after Jesse gets the Park Lee, there was an incident over there, nothing out of the ordinary. Obviously, he had started all that drama at at Goulburn. But when he got to Kempsey, yeah, I'm not going to name any of the names. Like obviously these guys got charges in jail, but when he got there, again he thought everything was all good. Again he thought that there wasn't any issues. I don't even know how he thought that when I specifically explained to him, bro, you gotta leave your freaking safe haven soon and you're gonna get got everywhere you go. Guess what? Everywhere Jesse was going, he was getting got, yeah? And the worst one was at Kempsey prison. Like the Kuru boys, one of the Kuru boys, one of the Islander boys, and another, they went to town on Jesse, same thing. Jesse had no idea what was going on, but everywhere he went, like he got, you know? And this is what I'm explaining to all you youngsters out there. Like, this is not a freaking game. I understand that you guys can stand on your own 2 feet. I understand a lot of you youngsters out there are making money now, you know, especially the young adults out there. And yous are about it. If you're making top dollar, yous are about it. But if you're coming home with $1,500 a week, remember, you're maximizing your risk, but minimizing your profit. You know, because you're running around doing all these rubbish stuff, yeah, for the older boys, or all these rubbish stuff for the crew that you're representing. And so when you're doing all this rubbish stuff, you're maximizing your risk, yeah? And the profit isn't that good. So why would you risk it? That's what I'm saying, you know? Pretty much, it's got to be the other way around. Minimize the risk and maximize the profit. When you're in the gang world, that's how you want it, all right? But when I'm here explaining all these things to you, it doesn't matter if it's that way or that way, like when it comes to risk and profit. When you're living this type of life, what you're going to be going through is everything that I just told you about Jesse. Now, one of the biggest things that ever happened with Jesse inside prison wasn't when he was getting got, yeah? One of the biggest things to all you guys out there that know Jesse well, please, if you guys know the name of the person that I'm about to bring up, put it inside the chat because I actually can't remember the name of Jesse's best mate, yeah? But all of you's heard a story that I told a couple of weeks ago about a Spaniard. So this story with Jesse is exactly the same. Now, I'm going to explain to you guys how I am with my boys and people that I surround myself with, yeah? If I need a message sent, or if I need someone to send me a message back, when I was inside prison, I would give them my missus' phone number, yeah? And I would only give it to people that I trust, yeah? So when these people would call my missus, they would always be sincere and respectful, yeah? And when my missus would speak to these guys, obviously a lot of them are handsome guys, getting out looking buff and whatnot. And when my wife would meet up with them, it was always simple. Talk about what I said to talk about, hug and bye. That's it, you know? For those of you who don't know nothing about Islanders, this is how we greet each other. You know, it's a kiss on the cheek and a hug and then bye. You know, we don't even, like half the time now, when I'm outside now, I see them, they just kiss on the cheek, no hugging, because a lot of Islanders have become Muslim, yeah? With the Muslims, there's no hugging or kissing on the cheek, but let me tell you something. This thing, kissing on the cheek and hugging, is cultural. With all Islanders, it's how you show respect and love, yeah? So a lot of the Muslim boys that would catch up with my missus, it would be awkward for them because they're just used to putting their hand on their heart and saying, "Hi sister, this money is for Triggz," or "Hi sister, I just came here, please can you pass on this message to Triggz?" So my wife started understanding how things work when it came to different nationalities and different boys that deal with me and my business, yeah? So with Jesse, same situation as Spaniard, yeah? He had a best mate. All right. Anyone out there in the chat know who Jesse's best mate was? And does anyone out there know what I'm about to say? Anyone? All right. I guess nobody. Oh, yes, that's the one. My man. All right. Well, my man over here, he just explained it. He knows it perfectly well. So to everyone out there, especially all you youngsters, thank you very much, Uber. This is what happened, all right? Jesse was inside prison and his best mate was Stracko, yeah? They were together throughout the time I was there, and they were like this. Anyone would bridge up to Jesse, Stracko would step up to the plate. Anyone bridge up to Stracko, Jesse would step up to the plate. This is how close they were, yeah? And I used to love seeing their relationship. Every day they were laughing together. They would do things for each other that no other would do for each other. Like, there was boys inside prisons who were friends, but when it came to these two, they were more like blood brothers. That's how I saw it. That's my perspective of it. Because remember, I saw them every single day, you know, and they shared everything. And it came to that point where Stracko had to leave Goulburn. All right, remember I told you he's about to leave. He's going home, and then he left his phone number to his best mate. All right, who's his best mate? Jesse. Yeah, Jesse starts calling his missus. Instead of passing on the message he's supposed to pass on, he starts talking to her, you know, no flirting, just talking normally, you know, have a little laugh, you know, and then that's where it comes in, love ya. When the word love ya comes into it, that's when you start thinking, you know, like I say love ya to my boys, to even to girls that I grew up with, but my love ya is because I actually have sincere love for these people, yeah? My love ya isn't a flirting love ya. That's the difference, all right? Now, nothing had happened yet, but remember guys, I'm not telling you rubbish that I heard. I was there, and I am the only Islander that was there at the time that had visits every single week, you know, like that's how loyal my wife was, and my people that were coming to see me at the time, especially to my parents, yeah? So when Jesse got called out to visit one day, I was at visit, and guess who turns up to visit him? his best mate's missus. No, Jesse didn't organize this. His best mate was the one who told his missus, please, go and visit Jesse, make sure he's alright, if he needs anything, let me know, send him my big love and respects. This is the way Stracko was, and obviously he's doing it only because Jesse is his best mate, alright? I was there from the first visit, and I'll never forget it. Like, here's the table in between them, and they were sitting like this, talking like that, yeah? And as every week went past, every month that went past, it started getting closer. It started getting closer. Then they started getting closer, talking closer like this. Like, obviously, Stracko trusted Jesse, so he sent his missus, yeah? The one that he was in love with, yeah? And I remember the day I was sitting at visits with my wife, and I was talking, and then I went to stand up to finish my visit, and as I stood up, I just turned my head like that, and I seen Jesse and Stracko's missus kiss. And I was like, what the fuck? Bro, straight away, I told my wife, I was like, what the fuck? Mate, that's fucking his best mate's missus. And my wife was like, what? And I was like, they just kissed. And she didn't see it, yeah? And then I was like, hide behind the wall. So where the table was, their table, it was down here, but there's a door. So you can't really see unless you stand up. All right, so there's a door there and then a window where the screws have to talk to you and say, hey, finish up visits. So this window that was here and the door that was here, when I was sitting down with my wife, we couldn't see Jesse and his missus. But when I stood up and I walked out to finish visits, I saw him kissing his best mate's missus, yeah? And then I backed up on the wall and I was like, bro, what the fuck? Like that. And my missus was like confused, like, what's wrong? And I said, bro, freaking old mate next door just kissed his freaking best mate's missus. And then my wife, she knew about that situation because I had been explaining it to her for like the last 2-3 months, how loyal Stracko is to send his missus to visit Jesse. Now, for those of you who don't know me, yeah, I was like Stracko. I was sending my missus, my wife now, but I was sending her when she was my girlfriend to visit all the boys, including my brothers. And guess what? Every single person that she visited, they were all respectful, all sincere, no flirting, no rubbish, yeah? Like, the amount of times that my wife went above and beyond for the boys, like just so I could pass messages on, or just so she could go and see them because their parents couldn't visit them. So that's what was happening. Their parents couldn't make it to visits because they were too busy, or their family members couldn't afford to go visit them. So what I would do is I would send my wife to go and visit all the boys so that they've got money in the account, they get to have some munchies for the weekend and they're happy, yeah? This is the way I always kept my boys happy, so they always got visits and whatever they need. So Stracko was doing what I was doing, but he didn't do it to everyone. He only did it for Jesse. And I'll never ever forget when I saw that first kiss. I don't know if it was the first kiss or not, but I remember when I first saw them kiss, I was just like, my head was about to explode. Like, my wife at the time was like saying to me, please, like, stop, because I was just like, what the look, and I was trying to push her, and she didn't want to be pushed to have, look. She didn't want to borrow it because she didn't care. She was like, please, let's just go, you know. So we ended up going, and then after that, like every time he was at visits, like he started not caring, and then the word, yeah, love ya, appreciate you guys. Then the word got back to Stracko, and this is when the drama started between them two. I'm not gonna go into the dramas that went on over there. All I know is there was big internal dramas, not with the crew, but just with them two. Remember, they were best mates. They did everything together, yeah? And everyone was freaking shocked because this guy, whose name is Jesse, is supposed to be the leader, yeah, of the FLC boys in the Asian yard. This is the boss of the FLC boys in the Asian yard. And not only was he like the one who was at the top of the ladder, he also had a best mate who respected him so much to send him his missus. And what does he do? He takes advantage not only of his gang, but also of his best mate's missus. Remember, Tokani is now being chopped. Zayn has been chopped. He's been chopped. And I haven't even mentioned all the other FLC boys that were getting chopped as well. All because of Jesse's friggin' antics. All the drama, all the trouble that Jesse started. Alright? Now remember, Aussie boys inside prison, they don't have a say in there. Yes, there are some staunch Aussies that I've come across, yeah? But Jesse only got his power because he was in his little safe haven, yeah? And as soon as he left his safe haven, he got alright? And this is the same as every other guy that tries to play gangster in prisons, you know? Like I told you all before about the OC blokes. They're over there at their prisons and they're playing tough guys. But as soon as they leave their prisons, the first thing they tell everyone as soon as they arrive to that prison is, no, I'm not OC. What are you talking about? No, I was with OC, but I've got nothing to do with them. This is what they do. And when you're in a gang and you deny your gang, this is what I call weak cunts. That's what they were, all weak cunts, because that's what they did. And it wasn't just them. There are gangs inside prisons that were doing this. Bikie gangs were doing the same thing as well. When they would get into prisons that they weren't supposed to be in, straight away, they'll say the same thing. I'm not a bandito. I'm not a this. I'm not a that. You know, and I was there through all of this rubbish. Like, this thing happens on a daily basis inside prison. It's not something new, you know. And that's why I'm saying to all you youngsters out there, have a look at what happened to Jesse, you know. He was the king of his yard. And then as soon as he left his little safe haven, everywhere he went, he got chopped. And all his mates that followed him all got chopped. And guess what? None of them, except Jesse, were expecting it. All the boys that got chopped did not expect it, because remember, they had nothing to do with it. They had nothing to do with the dramas that Jesse created. Jesse knew something was going to happen to him, but the rest of the boys had no idea, all right? So this is what I'm saying to all you youngsters out there. Whatever you're doing now, man, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. Do your thing. Like, you want to be a gangster? That's on you, you know what I mean? I'm telling my story with the hope that you learn from it. If you do, cool. If you don't, it is what it is, you know? But listen to these stories carefully, because this is what's going to happen, yeah? When you walk into prison. Like, you think that people will forget about it, but they don't forget about this stuff. And Jesse, like, I don't know where his relationship went with when it came to Stracco, but he's got friends that are in Supermax now, and I remember speaking to them about Jesse, and pretty much they said it how it was. These are his friends also that he went through juvie with and grew up with, yeah? And his friends actually said it to me. They go, bro, you know, like, we love Jesse to death, but he started so much drama, got the boys chopped, and then on top of that, he slept with friggin', he took Stracco's missus off him, which was obviously his best mate. When those boys in Supermax said this to me, I thought, oh, shit. I thought they were gonna stick up for Jesse, but guess what? They were over it. They learned from their mistakes. And that's all I'm saying to you youngsters that are out there now. You know, what you do is on you right now. You know, don't let me get into your head. You know, all I'm doing is trying to share my story. Like, at the end of the day, don't change for your parents. Don't change for the community. Don't try to change for me. I'm a nobody, yeah? Change for yourself. Do what you got to do for yourself, and don't let anyone get into your head. You know, it's on you to be able to grab that inner strength and change yourself for the better. That's all I'm going to say on that. That's Jesse's story. Done and dusted. There'll be other things that'll be coming about certain people in that circle and certain situations that happened at that time. But all of that will be told on YouTube in full, as you all know. Next story coming up is an NRL player named Jared Haynes. Everybody knows Haynes. Before I go on to Jared Haynes' story, I want to give big love and respect to everyone that's sending through gifts. I appreciate you. And to everyone that's tapping it, please, let me do my job to help these youngsters out there. And all I'm asking you guys is to tap it up. Hit those likes, pump it up. Love ya, appreciate you, AJ, Fax. And will give you what you guys want. The Hayne plane, it is. So when Jared Haynes come in, obviously like his charges were the disgusting charges that I was talking about. Fiona, BNOG, appreciate you guys. And there was no way Jared was going to come into the main, not because he wasn't scared, it was because he was high profile. So for all you guys that know Salim Mahajer, he was the mayor. I think it was of Auburn, or I don't know, it was one of the local Middle Eastern areas, but he was the mayor, yeah? Someone over here will tell me who he was mayor of. But when, Auburn it is. So Salim Mahajer, Murray, appreciate you guys. Thank you very much, ITPV. And when Salim Mahajer first come into prison, I was there in segregation when he turned up, yeah? And he was quiet, did his own thing, minded his own business. But again, like I always tell you guys, when someone comes into prison who has money, everyone starts gunning for that bloke, yeah? And obviously Salim Mahajer is known to have money, and if he didn't have much money, obviously everybody knew his family had money, all right? So Salim Mahajer comes in, doing his time, and I remember he was told he couldn't come into the main, all right? Appreciate you guys. And the reason he couldn't come into the main, Salim Mahajer, it wasn't because he was scared. It was because he was high profile, because he was on the news on a weekly basis, and known for having money. The screws didn't want anything happening to him, because if something happened to him, it would be all over the news. Mo, we appreciate you, my man. Thank you, Triggz. So this is what happened with Jared Haynes, all right? When he come in, Jared Haynes went into to segregation. Let me tell you guys a funny story about Salim Mahajer before I continue with Jared Haynes, yeah? Come on, guys, tap it up. 500,000 likes there, 500,000 to go. Let's go. All right. This funny story about Salim Mahajer, I was actually there when it happened, yeah? So he was talking to everyone, and obviously he was sending money here and there to a few boys that he got along with, yeah? But boys were already gunning for him, and I knew it because I could hear it, and I understand how prison works. They were all waiting for him to come out to the main. As soon as Salim Mahajer, if Salim Mahajer got out into the main at Silverwater, let me tell you something, he would have got, because they were all waiting for him, yeah? And it's not because they didn't like the guy, everybody wanted to make money, and Salim Mahajer was going to be that guy. So the funny story that I'm about to tell you guys is when I was sitting inside segregation, yeah? And there was a Middle Eastern guy who had been talking to him for a couple of weeks, and it got to a day where he asked Salim Mahajer finally for 10K. This is how it starts in prison, yeah? They play the friendly card, then they play the friend card, and then they play the brotherly card, and then that's when they ask for something. So the 10 grand, that's the day that I heard it, was when he said, bro, is there any chance that I can borrow 10K, you know, or if you could hook us up with 10K. It was along those lines. And I remember when I heard it, I was training. And when I heard it, I was like, ooh, this guy finally asked for money. And Salim Mahajer said to him, he goes, bro, look, I'll see what I can do, you know. He goes, right now, he goes, all my accounts are frozen. Like, he made his excuse to get out of us. And this is what everyone does with money, you know. Like, even if they got the money, they'll make excuses to get out of it, because they know once they hand over money, that's it. You're going to be handing over money for the rest of your legging. And if you don't hand over that dollar, you're going to get chopped. That's how it works. All right. So Salim said what he said. Old man goes, yeah, all good, please. Like, just see what you can do. Like, you know, family's really in need. And I remember this happened for a couple of days, you know. And then it got to the next week, and he was still going, oh, bro, like, you know, did you see what you could do? And then Salim was like, bro, I told you, like my money's put away. Like, you know, I gotta wait to see what I can do. I gotta speak to my lawyer. You know, like, don't worry, bro. Like, I'll do my best, you know, to try to look after you, but I can't look after everyone. And then this guy was like, brother, I told you, as soon as you go to the main, my boys will take care of you. I told you, anything happens to you or anyone tries to touch you, our boys have got your back. No matter what jail you go to, you're going to be protected. This is how it works inside prison. Like, don't get me wrong, I've done the same thing. I've walked over to guys and I've said the same thing. If you want me to protect you, at all these prisons that my guys are at, you have to fork out and help the Oibes. You know, I've done the same thing. So this guy wasn't doing anything different, and it's not illegal to do it. He was offering his help and protection to Salim. Salim, you could tell in his voice, he was getting frustrated, yeah? And he was like, nah, bro, like, I don't need nothing from anyone. Like, bro, like, your friendship is enough. He goes, wallah, bro. He goes, like, all I'm telling you is the truth. Like, I don't know if I can do it, but I'll try my best. And then the guy goes, fuck, bro, you've been saying that for over a week, mate. And that's when the guy started getting frustrated. Yeah, the Middle Eastern guy. Remember, we can't see each other, so I don't even know who the other bloke was that was talking to him. All I knew was he was Middle Eastern, yeah? And our funniest friggin' thing is when he started getting aggressive, he started swearing. And when the first swear would happen, I said to myself, all right, that's it. It's Salim has now friggin' has to sleep in his bed. You made your bed by becoming friends with this guy, and if this guy turns on you, you have to sleep in your bed. You know? No one's gonna save you. You know, if you step foot in the main, you're gonna get got by this guy's boys first, because you promised this guy that you were gonna see if you could get him 10K. Now this is what happens in prison. If you say the words, I'll see if I can do it. That's it. You have to pay up. No matter what, you're stuck, all right? So if anyone hits you up for money when you get inside prison, just simply say, no, I got nothing, that's it, you know? Don't try to play the rich guy, don't try to go pull money in other boys' accounts, because as soon as the Kuri boys see it, you're gonna get got. As soon as the Muslim or the Islander boys see it, you're gonna get got. The Asian boys, they don't do standovers. Pretty much, their very network works in a way where like they all help each other and they make money with each other. This is how the Asian boys work. Love yous, appreciate yous. But with Salim Mahajer that day, when he was standing there, I could tell everyone was in the back listening in, yeah, because the Middle Eastern guy's voice started coming up. Bro, you said that over a week ago. What are you talking about? Like that. And Salim was like, bro, what's your problem? And Salim was very calm, yeah. And then this guy started swearing, bro, the fuck out of here, cunt. As soon as he said that, Salim was like, what? And then he just started going off. This guy started going off. I said, bro, who do you think you are, bro? Huh? Who do you think you are? Like, I told you that my boys will protect you. You promised me by 1, 2, 3, and you're not. And now you're freaking playing little games, bro. And this guy was going off. He was ranting, and I was sitting there going, whoa. And remember, Salim is, throughout the whole time he was there, he was maintaining composure, and he was being nice to everyone. And everyone that was there was asking him for something, yeah? Because obviously, like, he's the guy with the money. I didn't ask him for nothing, and none of the guys on my side asked him for anything, because the guys on my side were all good. We'd been in Segra for a while, so we all had food and everything we needed. But the guys on Salim Mahajer's side, they only just got there, you know, and so they were all trying to bump money off freaking off Salim Mahajer. But the funniest thing is when this guy started going off. Remember, Salim Mahajer had been maintaining composure for the last month, yeah? And then as soon as this guy raised his voice and started swearing, carrying on, this is the first time I heard Salim Mahajer rip into him. What the fuck are you fucking talking about? Huh? Who the fuck do you think you are? This is Salim Mahajer. And I was like, oh shit, this is fucking Salim Mahajer. He's full going on, huh? You think you're the only one with boys? You think you're the only one with boys? Ah, what that? You fucking cocksucker. And I was like, whoa. This guy just called him a cocksucker. Right. In my head, I was like, Salim Mahajer is gone. As soon as he steps foot in the main, he's gone. My thing is like, I give me 1 sec, guys. I gotta do this puzzle. 1 sec. Ah, shit. Not an AI. It is what it is with Triggz. Fire out. I can't believe I failed the first puzzle. That's how freaking numb my arm is. But yeah, let's get back to Salim. He went off. And you know when he went off, the guys that were next to me were just cracking up laughing. They're like, bro, can you hear Salim? Okay, yeah. He's finally lost the plot. Salim Mahajer has lost the plot. And that's what made me laugh. I was like, bro, you heard the gentleman side of Salim Mahajer. You could hear clearly that he was maintaining composure throughout the couple of weeks that everyone was hitting him up for something. And then it just got to the point where he exploded and he went off. And then they were like just going off with each other. And long story short, I left I left segregation, and I don't know what happened between them two, but Salim Mahajer never walked into the main. And let me tell you something, he's very, very lucky that the officers didn't let him go to the main, because he was gonna get axed, you know. But I give it to him, you know, like he did maintain composure, and he was a gentleman to all the boys that were hitting him up. But as soon as he got pushed into a corner, what happens when someone gets pushed into a corner? They just start swinging. But obviously Salim couldn't swing, so he just started melting off. Now, let's get to Jarryd Haynes. NRL, let's go. Jarryd Haynes comes into prison, boom, big chatter inside prison. Everyone's talking about, woo, you reckon Jarryd will go into the main? You reckon Jarryd to go into the main? I already knew Jarryd wouldn't go into the main, but the bloke at the time was killing it in footy, you know, so I knew there was no way he was going to come into the main. But before we move into that, how stupid was Jarryd to give money to that piece of shit that was saying that he could do something with it if Jarryd could invest, you know, like, you know, if Jarryd was in the main, that bloke that was with him in the boneyard, love you, James, never would have done that to him. So all I know is not to believe things I watch on the news. The news is saying that Jarryd Haynes handed over, I think, $700,000 to this inmate that he was locked up with. Where Jarryd Haynes was, there's a lot of protection there. Majority of the protection go to where Jarryd Haynes is. But Jarryd Haynes cannot be considered a boneyarder or someone that was in protection, because also at that same jail, a few guys who are looking at, who have very small whacks, go there. This is Kuma prison, yeah? But at Kuma prison, you'll find all the pedos, the apiaries, the judges, the cops, all of these dogs all end up over there, yeah? And then also the high-profile guys like Salim Mahajer and Jarryd Haynes. And there was a Tongan guy, I forget his name. He played NRL as well. I'm pretty sure that he went there as well. So you can't put Jarryd Haynes on a boneyarder, because that's where he was made to go, and he had to mix with the guys that was there at the time. But let me tell you something straight, there was a lot of boneyarders over there where he was. When he first came in, obviously everyone was wondering what they were wondering, but when we were at Goulburn, 4 of our guys went to Parklea, yeah? And that's where Jarryd Haynes was. And I remember them sending a message up to me, and they were saying, far out, like, this Jarryd Haynes is getting friggin' harassed here. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, bro, everyone's just swearing at him, carrying on, throwing apples at him. And some of these guys were in that OC gang. They were doing it when they were there, you know. But don't get me wrong, like, there was nothing wrong with that, because remember, what Jarryd Haynes was in for was disgusting, yeah? And my thing is, he hadn't been found guilty at the time, so who am I to judge? Yeah, he was still going to trial. That's how it works in prison, yeah? And no one that was there was an older guy. All the boys that were at Parklea were all younger boys, so obviously they were abusing the F out of him. And, you know, from what my guys were telling me, boys were trying to pig apples and stuff at him when he was walking past to go to visits or to go wherever he needed to go, like legals or whatever else, yeah? While Jarryd was there, one of my guys was telling me that he was a gentleman, and he would always talk to the boys with respect. But the other boys would yell out like and start swearing and calling him Abraham, and you know how it is. And then as soon as Jarryd got found not guilty, it wasn't long ago, yeah? Right, I swear to you, everyone started like sucking up his ass and saying, bro, I knew it, I knew this, I knew that. And that's what made me laugh. He's like, Jarryd never ever came into the main where all the boys were. But from what my guys said, he did his time peacefully, and he, you know, like he was a gentleman, and all he did was like give respect to the people that he spoke to. but everyone that was belittling him had no idea whether he was guilty or not guilty. Yeah, and obviously he went a few times to court before he got found not guilty. But this is what happens. So the reason why I brought up Jared Haynes' story is because when Jared came in, he wasn't a criminal, all right? But it only took that one little thing that happened to him for him to step inside prison. And guess what happened when he came inside prison? Everyone that supported him, like, turned and walked away from him. You know, like, he had a small group, obviously, that stuck up for him and walked with him, obviously his family and his missus. But this is what I'm telling all you youngsters out there, especially the guys who don't get involved in gangs and stuff. Mate, be careful what you get yourselves into. And I don't care if you're hanging out with girls and you know them. Like, today is the era of technology, and I've seen it with my own friggin' eyes when a girl stole a bag off one of the boys, and then when one of these boys went over there and kicked her door in and started swearing at her, saying, "Where's my bag? Where's my bag?" She started like crying and whatnot, yeah, and she gave the bag back to him, but the bag was empty. It didn't have money in it. So he slapped her, all right? And then when he left, and he said to her, "Make sure you pay my money." When he left, he was going to come back the next day, and she sent him a video, yeah? And listen to this. She set up a camera, right? So when he came back, he didn't realize he was being filmed. And she sent him a video of where he slapped her. And then she said to him, after stealing $2,700 off him, yeah? She said to him, if you ever come looking for me, I'm going to give this footage to the cops so they can breach your parole and you can go to prison. And this is what I'm telling you. Like, I'm not just talking about gang stuff on my platform, yeah? I'm talking about everything that's got to do with keeping you youngsters safe. When you're with girls, when you're drinking alcohol, when you're doing drugs, all this stuff comes to play. Because remember, I was inside prison, and in 2002, there was an incident that broke out there, yeah, with the Islander boys. To cut a long story short, all the Islander boys ended up jumping one of the other older Islander boys because we were told that he was in for, doing something to a girl. And he got his head caved in, he went to the hospital, and then everyone went back to doing their own thing. Not long after that, like I think it was probably about 10 months or something, yeah, a newspaper article came out and said that he had been released because his missus or his wife admitted that she accused him of these charges because he came and took the kids without asking permission. So remember this. He never did what she said, yeah? He came to prison, got his head jumped on, all the boys went to town on him, and he ended up in hospital, stayed in there for about a month in hospital, and then he got released after his wife confessed. So to all you youngsters out there, this is what I'm telling you. Be careful, be careful, be careful. All right? That's why I brought up this Jared Haynes incident, because Jared Haynes was at the top of his career. He was killing it. Everyone wanted a piece of Jared Haynes. But as soon as that incident happened, he went inside prison. And like, I'm not going to talk on this girl and what happened. All I'm going to say is why. You got celebrities who have got big money. One of them includes Jared Haynes. But why would you put yourself in that type of position? You know what I mean? Like, when you got money, like, there's people like yourselves who are watching right now, who would love to. You're not living that life. Doing like, they act like idiots. and then all of a sudden they start having mental breakdowns. So that's all I'm saying to you youngsters out there. You know, be careful what you get yourselves into, because at the end of the day, it all comes back to bite you. Yeah. Now, before I move forward, I just need all of you guys to start tapping it up so we can hit that $1 million point for this last story. This last story is gonna be a banger, fucking a story that everyone's that been hitting me up about. Bigs, appreciate you. And before I start this story about Osca Taufahema and Baz Cavanagh, I just want to send my big love and respects, Underworld, to everyone that's been sending through gifts. I apologize that I wasn't saying it while the gifts are coming. I just wanted to get my story out, yeah? Because at the end of the day, I'm here to tell a story with the hope that the younger generations learn from it. But this story about these two boys is a big story that everyone wanted to hear about us. So before I get started, come on guys, tap that freaking button and get these likes up to 1 million, and I'll do my duty. My duty to help the youngsters by sharing these stories. All right, Osca Taufahema and Baz Cavanagh. So Oscar, he's the type of person that does his time his own way. You know, he never joined any gangs inside prison. Look, how do I put it? They didn't care about the screws or any of the dramas. You know, like if someone stepped on their toes, they would make a move. But for guys like Oscar, they would just used to blast Oscar. I'll never forget it. He was smoking with one of the Aussie boys named Nathan Mahajer, yeah, and they were smoking under a towel. So what they do, they used to put a towel over themselves and then they would smoke, and the screws would never run in, obviously, because there's too much inmates and it would cause a ruckus, yeah. And and all of a sudden, a thing came over the intercom, or not the intercom, like the big microphone, and they said, Taufahema and Mahajer, stop smoking drugs under that towel. And it was a thing where everyone just started cracking up laughing. And I remember when they came out of the towel, they were looking like that, and then they just both started laughing as well, you know. But the screws didn't run in and try to stop them from doing anything. The screws knew what they were doing, but just to have a laugh, the screws said that over the loudspeaker. So before I got to Goulburn, there was already tension in the Islander yard. Yeah, remember, Moses has now left the Islander yard, and he was the one that was taking care of all the Islanders. He was the leader, and he's the one that everyone looked up to. But then he turned religious, and when Moses turned religious, no one did anything, obviously, because he's got a gangster background. So pretty much everyone just went with the flow. Moses would do his religious stuff, and no one would dare speak out of school, because even though Moses went religious, he was still doing his training sessions and sparring people, and nobody wanted to get on the other side of him when they had to spar, you know. So when Moses left, love your profile, appreciate you. When Moses left, Oscar, he didn't step up to the plate and take over the yard. Oscar, like I told you, he was doing his time. He always done his time in peace. But all the boys that was in there was mostly Tongan boys. And then there was a Fijian guy who was co-e's with Osca Taufahema. His name was Millie, yeah? And when they were there, these were the guys that ate well. So remember when I told you, when I first got to Goulburn Correctional Centre, there was boys who were the boys who trained every day. Then there was boys who did education. There was boys that went to work. And then there was the junkie boys. And then obviously Oscar's side and Oscar's crew was like the boys who lived well. You know, every week they had steak and all that. This was the era meat being sold inside prison. So in prison, back when I was there with Oscar, they used to sell ice cream and meat, like the best food. And then all of a sudden, the jail commissioner took all the luxury food off us, and that was it for that. But Oscar and Baz were on different levels. Obviously, Oscar's old school. Everybody knows his last name. So the Taufahema name, for all of you around the world that don't know this, the Taufahema last name was a big name on the outside and inside, because they got a lot of brothers, yeah? And Oscar and Cube are the oldest brothers. These were the two that was at Goulburn when this situation happened. Just those two Taufahema brothers. Baz Cavanagh, he was on my level at the time. We were both young guns coming up in the prison system. And when we both got to Windsor, we were both there, and we were like the frontline soldiers for the Islanders, you know. Back at Windsor, there was a guy named Charles. Big Charles was Tongan, and he was a machine. He was like our delegate at Windsor. Very good delegate, and he was a gentleman as well, you know. And Baz and I were like the ones that used to go and fight for the Islanders, when we would be the ones that will go and stand in the front line if any situation happened. So yeah, to everyone that was sending me messages and saying, is Baz a soldier? Yes, he was a soldier, a frontline soldier for the Islanders. But to everyone that was asking me if he was a Trump for the Islanders, no, he wasn't a Trump for the Islanders. But he was a frontline soldier for the Islanders. So fast forward to when Moses left and Oscar is now in the yard. Oscar's side is the side that was living lux, yeah? A situation occurred with Cube and Baz, where a ball rolled over to Cube and he kicked it. And this is while the boys were playing squash, yeah? And Cube is very hot-headed. He doesn't really care about anyone or anyone's opinion. He'll just tell it how it is. So on this day, pretty much he put it on Baz, or try to treat him like a little shit, you know. And Baz was not going to have it, obviously, because even though Cube is older than him and has got a bigger reputation than him, Baz had spent many years being a frontline soldier for the Islanders, like myself. I was there. We both came up in the system when this was happening during the racial wars, you know. So obviously Baz did have legs to stand on. And then this situation occurred where Baz like spoke up when Cube arced up, you know. As soon as Cube arced up at Baz was then asking the officers to come back to the yard, like he was all good. It was just a incident where it was too hot and everyone was freaking just angry that they couldn't be at home with their family, you know. Love your profile. So the screws ended up thinking, you know what, Baz has been here with the Taufahema brothers for a long time, for a couple of years now. So he wouldn't talk rubbish to us, you know, like, yeah, let's let him back. Who are supposed to be close, and then they turn on each other. This here's the story right now, yeah? So what happened was, you know what? Let me grab this phone so I can talk to you properly, explain it properly. So what happened was, after that incident, Baz came back in, yeah? And when he came back to the yard, a lot of moldy boys started coming, all right? But the thing is that nobody knows is a lot of one of the crew boys on the video, that car that I was telling you about, yeah, he was telling a story about how if you're outnumbered and you go on with it and you get jumped, is that a shit go? Yeah, of course it's a shit go, but what Carr was saying is it's prison, so it can't be a shit go. It's racial wars, you know, and if it's not racial wars and it's internal dramas, it doesn't matter. It's prison. You know, you want to be a hard guy, you're going to get got. Like, You can't go to the shit go. Like, a shit go is a good go, because in prison, it's all about being on top. It's all about your reputation. It's all about making sure everybody knows you're not the person to be effed with, yeah? So when Carl was saying these things, and I was listening to it this morning because someone sent me his video, yeah? I thought to myself, you know what? He's 100% right. You know, like, you can't friggin' say it's a shit go. I said it was a shit go, but I never said it once. I've been jumped so many times. It's not funny, yeah. And yeah, I did well every time I got jumped, but that's not the point. The point is I copped it on the chin. Why? Because it's jail. You know. When I got stabbed inside prison, I didn't snitch on the guys that stabbed me in, and when I was getting jumped by the Kuri boys, and then when I got jumped by the Lebo boys, like, I could have made things easier for myself, but I didn't, you know? Because why? Because I was living the gangster life. And so like Car, I'm the same, you know? It's not a shit go, it's prison. Prison, you know? He came back out to the yard, and now he was telling off all the island, all the Māori boys for not having his back when he got jumped. But at the same time, they weren't trying to swindle any moves. They were just cruising, yeah? And still Oscar and his side were on top. And let me tell you something about Melly. Melly's Fijian, and he's Oscar's and these boys were not the ones that pulled the trigger, but they were there when it happened, yeah? And sadly, these boys ended up copping a big whack, yeah? And a big whack for something they didn't even do. And this is a lesson to all you youngsters out there, yeah? Osca Taufahema, Cube Taufahema, and Melly, these guys did not pull the trigger. They were just there in the car at the time. And I remember when they were telling me the story, they were explaining how all they did was jump out and run. You know, their Koei, who I'm not going to mention, he was the one that pulled the trigger, and obviously he got longer than the rest of them. But this is what's going to happen to you guys if you guys keep doing what you're doing, you know? It doesn't matter if you're not doing anything. If you're there and you're in and amongst it, you're going to be charged along with the rest of them, right? That's how it works. So, with Oscar and his side living Lux, and in Baz now starting to have boys that are coming, yeah? The Māori boys, by the time I got there, I think it was 2008 I got there. By the time I got there, I had a census of 10 years. So I had to serve 7.5 years on the bottom, but 10 years altogether. I ended up serving that whole 10 years. But my point is, when I got there, I could see that there was tension all over the yard. And there was a dear brother of mine named Afile Savia. When I got there, I was saying to him, far out, is this how it is? Those boys eat well, and the rest of the yard just kick back and watch. And he was like, Afile was like, I don't even want to talk about it, so that's how it works here, you know? So yeah, there's no malice when I'm telling this point of view. Is pretty much that's how prison was for the Islanders back then until I took over. And when I took over, everything was good for the Islander boys, yeah? So remember, I am now there. Baz Cavanagh has now gathered a lot of Māori boys under his wing, and he was training them, yeah? And I remember I was standing there that day when Baz came over to me, and he said to me, hey bro, I'm gonna go and offer Oscar out for a one-on-one. And I said, oh, what do you mean? He goes, bro, that situation when they jumped me, him and his brother, bro, I'm not gonna let that go. And I remember remember saying to Baz, bro, that happened a while ago. Like, why did you like hold the grudge for this long? Why didn't you take care of it? You've been in the yard with him this whole time. I already knew that Baz was like trying to swindle moves, yeah. And this is what it comes down to you younger guys, you know, influential people that get into your ear. Baz was very influential towards the Moldy boys, yeah. So all the Moldy boys that came there, they all thought that that Baz was the guy to follow. They didn't realize Baz wasn't a chump. He wasn't a leader, you know. All he was a frontline soldier. And there's a big difference between a frontline soldier and a chump, yeah. Moses was a chump. And a lot of the boys that were under him were either frontline soldiers or his right and left hand man. Like, you know, that's how the ladder is when it comes to gang related stuff. So when the Moldy boys were following Baz and training with him, they finally started doing this thing where they would praise Baz, you know, for being a loving older brother. But mind you, it made me laugh because they were all the same age as Baz, you know. And I knew what Baz was doing, but like obviously it's none of my business that this is his thing. But that day when he asked me, when he told me that he was going to offer out Oscar for a one-on-one, I remember all I said to him was these few words, because mind you guys, Baz can fight. Like, gets you with that right hand, you're going to sleep. And I laughed it off, and he goes, nah, it's all good, I got this. And I realized at that moment when he walked off, he was serious, because I thought like, mate, it's almost muster. He can't be like trying to do something now. So I gathered my stuff and I went to go have a shower. And in the showers that day was me, Melly, Leka, Tufi, and Oscar. Yeah, we were all in the showers. I was already in the shower. I was in my undies already showering. So was the other boys. We were all in our undies and we were all showering. And Oscar was in his towel and he was talking to the Muslim boys across the other side, yeah. And then Baz walked in and Oscar had his back to Baz, yeah. And let me tell you, let me put this up and explain it properly. All right. So Baz walks in, Oscar's like this, talking to one of the Muslim boys across the other side. And as soon as Baz walked in, bang, on his back, started going to town on Oscar's back. Oscar turns like this, and as he turned like that to cover up, Hone, one of the other Moldy boys, came in, so bang, started going at Oscar from the bottom. So Baz is coming from the top, Hone is coming from the bottom. This is why I got big respect for that Millie. You know the Fijian one? Bro, when I say he's short, like he is freaking short. Like, you know, like I don't even know how short he is, but very short, yeah? Bro, did you know what he did? Millie left his shower. Remember, he's having a shower. He's in the middle of having a shower in his undies. He jumped out of his shower and he went and tried to back up Oscar. And he's so small, like, mate, there's nothing much that Millie could do because he's a small guy, yeah? Everyone in the island yard was all big boys, yeah? But this is how big of a heart Millie is. As soon as Oscar started getting goal, he jumps right in. He went to throw it here, and then one of the other boys that was with, what's his name? Baz and Hone at the time, his name was Chad, clocked Melly before Melly could jump in. Then Melly starts trying to swing punches at Melly, at Chad, but Chad, like, obviously he's a big boy, and then he started going to town on Melly. So remember, now Chad's going at Melly, and Oscar's getting got from the top and the bottom, yeah? And I was in my shower, so I walked out of my shower because I didn't know whether they were just getting them or they were going to try to get all of us. So I'm there protecting myself. So I'm standing there in my undies and like I'm getting ready for whatever's going to be going on. And I remember seeing Tupi, because Tupi was across from me. He steps out of the showers as well. So he's like trying to figure out, like, bro, it's like, who's getting got here? Like, he's trying to watch his own back as well, yeah? And while the boys were going to town on him, Oscar like rips himself backwards, and then Baz and Hone jump back. So now Oscar's here, and he puts his hands up, and you got Hone here, Baz here, and Chad. He just finished like giving it to Melly, and now jump back. Now it's them three and Oscar. Like Melly had had already got rushed by Chad, yeah, and Chad was like still standing there shaping up at Melly, so Melly couldn't come over and try to help Oscar. But there was another Fijian guy. His name was Debo. Bro, this guy was massive. He was big, yeah. As soon as this broke out, he turned around and as Hone and Baz stepped backwards, Debo went to step forward, and Baz just went whack, got him boof straight here with a Ivsha, yeah. As soon as he got him, Debo went down and he started holding his chest like that. And I was standing at the showers, and then Oscar was like standing there like this. And as soon as Baz and Hone went to come forward again, boom, he threw a big right hook. And I swear to you, if he got them with that right hook, see you later. But when he threw this big right hook, all of them, like, I stepped back and he had missed, and he started shouting, "Come on, you fucking dogs!" And he was going on, "Just come on!" Boom, he threw a big left hook, and they all jumped back. Like, as they all jumped back, I was like, "Bro, what's going on?" Like, the screws all come running, and they all started going, "Everyone get there, get there!" And the gates were getting open from outside, the gates were getting open from the other side, the gates were getting open from the showers, and all the screws were like rushing in, yeah? By the time all the screws came in, Baz, Hone, and Chad quickly chucked their Ivshas, opened the door, and then they quickly like ran outside, like pretended like they had nothing to do with it. And Oscar was like bleeding from his back, you know, like all over the place. All I could see was just like, he was drenched with blood. And as soon as the screws got in there, they're like, everyone on the wall, everyone on the wall. And all of us there that we know, and he's like, "Get out of here, bro." He's trying to grab our towels. All right, grab your towels and walk outside. They looked at Oscar, and Oscar was like bleeding hard out, yeah? Then Oscar walks over to the shower, and he puts his head under the shower. When he puts his head under the shower, all I could see was just blood going down his back, yeah? And remember, Debo was still holding his chest because he had got in the chest. And he's a big boy, yeah? I walk out, and as soon as I walk out, I seen the boys that were involved in it, like just doing laps, pretending like they had nothing to do with it. And I walked out, and I was kicking back, and then and Oscar was inside in the showers. He wouldn't listen to no one. Like, he didn't give a F who was like talking to him, but he went on with it. Like, he threw his like, lucky none of them but he wanted to fight, but as soon as they got him, they didn't fight back, you know. And obviously I got along with Hone really well. I got along with Baz, and I got along with Oscar, and I got along with Oscar and his team. But this thing was an internal drama that was brewing before I even got to Goulburn Prison, yeah? So as soon as the screws came in, they grabbed Oscar, and they handcuffed him, and they took him out. And the other screw was saying, "Man, he goes, man, he's got holes in him. Take him to the nurse, So they told him to step to the side. So they didn't bring Oscar out. They took him to the other side to go towards the nurse. They radioed up for whoever was watching the footage, and all they seen in the footage was those three boys, Baz, Hone, and what's his name, and Chad, come out of the showers after the incident happened. So they came in, and I remember I was handcuffed along with all the other boys, and then they came and they took Chad, Baz, and Hone, and Orbs. These were the four boys that got taken, yeah? And they thought that these four boys were involved in getting Oscar because they were the ones doing laps. But Orbs had nothing to do with it. And I know for a fact that Baz offer him out for a one-on-one. So all I was thinking is, there was going to be a good one-on-one in the afternoon. That's all I thought. I thought nothing of it. But when he went and grabbed these ones and he went to town on Oscar, I realized this guy must have friggin' thought about it again and realized, you know what, I'm not going to take the chance of being laid out by Oscar, so I'm just going to go to town on him, you know what I mean, and get my revenge. Because remember, Cube was the one that started the dramas with Baz, and then Oscar jumped in. So Baz had been waiting for his revenge this whole time, you know, and and then when Hone and Chad got there, along with all the other Māori boys, and started training with with Baz. He swindled his move, you know, started being the influential islander that's been in there for ages, started using his power to his advantage by grooming all the boys that were just coming in. You know, one of those boys was Hone. He had just come in and he was looking at a big whack, which is what he got, a big whack for his manslaughter. And Baz had groomed him to be under his wing, and then that's why Hone friggin' got involved in it. And I heard from everyone in the system saying that, oh, Hone told us he had nothing to do with it. Hone said he was just there and he tried to stop it. Look, I got big love for Hone. I was there, you know, so I'm gonna just tell it how it is. But Hone was heavily involved in it. You guys are doing right now. Yous are helping all these older boys and these other gang to get either their revenge or to make their money for them. This is what you're getting yourself involved in right now. Yeah. And after that incident, all three boys had issues throughout the jail system. Every is big in jail and outside, and obviously all the Taufahema brothers had the backing from all the Tongan boys and all the network that they had built throughout the years. So everyone was now gunning for these three boys. Luckily for these boys, they had gone to segregation, and this incident happened. And when I got into the nurse's office, there was 6 squad in there, 3 inside with Oscar and 3 that was just standing outside. And I had to walk past Oscar to go see the nurse. And as I was walking, the screw was saying to me, fucking hell, man. He goes, bro, that Taufahema, he's a machine, eh? And I said, oh yeah. I was thinking, how do you know he's the machine? You weren't even in the showers when it happened. So in the showers, there's no cameras, all right? Outside of the showers, there's cameras everywhere. You can't do anything stupid. But in the showers is where pretty much everyone gets got, you know? So when I was telling you guys a story about Luke Akawala about a month ago, when he got jumped by his own OC mates, that happened in the showers as well. So this incident happened in the same showers that incident happened with the OCs and Luke Akawala. So what happened was, when I walked past and the screw said to me, he's a machine, I was thinking to myself, how do you know? And I go, what do you mean he's a machine? And these are the exact words that came out of that screw. He goes, man, they're stitching him up in there. He goes, he's so lucky that the blade Baz used was small. He goes, you know, an inch or 2 longer. He goes, mate, it would have hit him in the right place and he wouldn't be able to walk today. I was like, seriously? He goes, yeah, he's very, very lucky. And I go, what did he say? He goes, mate, that's what I'm telling you. He goes, they're stitching him up. And when I walked past, Oscar's hands was on a table, and they were stitching his back there, and he was just sitting like this. And he was going, just get it over and done with. Hurry up, get it over and done with. Get the fuck off me. This is the way he was talking to the nurses and the screws that were there. I don't want to hear rubbish. Stop talk to me about rubbish. That's Oscar's gangster coming out. Because remember, I told you, Oscar's the type who just does his time peacefully, doesn't get involved in any of the politics or rubbish that goes on in prison. Yeah. But as soon as that incident happened, the gangster in him came out. Yeah. He was like ready to go, you know. And the screw was telling me, mate, he goes, bro, they're trying to stitch him up. They got 2 nurses in there trying to stitch him up, and all he's saying is, I'm gonna kill these dogs. I'm gonna kill these. That's what he kept saying, you know. And I was like, whoa. Anyway. The point of this whole story, boys, to all you younger generation in there, is the fact that this is what happens inside prison. It doesn't matter how long you're in there for. It doesn't matter how much of a big name you got. Remember, Oscar's got a big name. Baz Cavanagh's got a big name. It doesn't matter who you roll with, who you run with, who you're doing things for. If you're living this type of life, you're always going to be watching your own back. You're always going to be wondering, is today going to be my day? Even to all you people that are working 9-to-5 jobs, but you're in and amongst it just a little bit. Like, this is what's going to happen to you guys when you guys go inside prison. You're going to be involved in rubbish like this, and you don't even mean to be involved in it. You don't even want to be involved in it. That's what I'm saying to you guys. When I'm speaking about these stories, it's because I was there when these stories happened, yeah? Or I was in and amongst all this rubbish that I'm talking about. And so I'm explaining it from my perspective, yeah? And when these things happen, it was things that I thought about afterwards, and I said to myself, wow, like, don't tell me that that this is the life that I'm gonna be living inside prison, you know? Don't tell me that these are the type of people that I'm gonna be mixing with for the rest of my life. Obviously, because I was living the gang life, you know? And when the incident happened with me, I was like shocked. I was like, whoa, I've done so much stuff for these fucking young islanders, and then they forgot about all the good that I done from them because they were high on drugs and they tried to be the kings of the yard. You know what? I dealt with that situation. I've come outside and I've cleaned up all the rubbish that was said about me and my team on social media. And now my friggin' goal is to give back to the community. And how am I doing that? Is by sharing my story with the hope that all the younger generation learn from it. And there's a big story to this situation that happened with Oscar and Baz that went on for years, yeah? But I'm not going to explain that now. This will be told in full. All I'm going to say is, for those of you who was trying to say Baz was the Trump of the Islander yard, no, he was never the Trump of the Islander yard. He was only a frontline soldier for the Islander yard, and you could consider him with him. He would come at you and he wouldn't take a backward step. But at the end of the day, he was the type that always did his time peacefully. And he said it to me once. He goes, bro, I really don't care about anything bigger. He goes, as long as I get my high, he goes, I'm good. That's how a real Oscar is. He'll just tell you how it is. He won't beat around the bush. Anyway, before I finish up on here, I just want to send my big love and respects to every single one of you that's been sending through gifts. Honestly, I wish I could say thank you while you're sending it through, but I have to get these stories out because these stories are important for the younger generation. And to everyone who tuned in, my love and respects as well to each and every one of you. We hit 1 million likes. I love yous. And before I